Welcome to the Simpler Business Podcast, where we talk about ways to do what you love and serve your people in a way that brings you income and freedom. I'm your host, Marissa Roberts. Join me as I chat with my favorite entrepreneurs about how they simplify their biz so that you can simplify yours. If you're a course creator or you are thinking of becoming one, you will love today's episode. You'll know by now I'm a huge advocate for online courses. I think it's a fantastic passive income option to add to your business model, thanks to its unlimited potential to scale without a lot of upkeep outside of initial setup and the occasional update. But it's not enough to just create your course and then sit back and wait for the sales to roll in. You need to tell people about it and encourage them to buy it. This is where a lot of us tend to get cold feet and we procrastinate on it creating our courses, or we build the entire course and then we just let it sit there with a link or two on our website and nothing happens after that. Running a launch for your online course when you first release it and a couple of times a year after that is a really effective way to boost sales. But so many of us feel overwhelmed at the idea of doing it. It feels like a big, scary project that only the big names and the gurus can do successfully. Well, that does not have to be the case anymore. We are chatting with Kim Fernandez today about how to make your launches simple and stress-free. Kim is a launch strategist, a launch manager, and the founder of Virtual Systems Sanctuary. Kim and her team help course creators create a launch strategy that's aligned with their brand and implement a systemized launch blueprint to create more revenue and a deeper impact. Kim became Australia's first certified launch manager in 2021, and she offers VIP launch planning days, launch management with your team, and a complete done-for-you launch service where the launch is implemented for you. Every service Kim offers is designed to simplify, elevate, and scale your business to reach further, faster. She knows exactly what is needed in order to launch effectively and stress-free to an engaged audience, which absolutely speaks my language as somebody who has shied away from launching in the past as an introverted entrepreneur who doesn't like to commit to big events and dates. So welcome, Kim. I am so happy that you're here with me today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's just when we met, I was like, oh, we are so meant to be friends because we're both really into systemizing things. You're really into launches. I'm not into launches at all because I was always too scared to do them. And I'm like, no, evergreen. And then talking to you, you were like, oh, no, actually, we just set up a process that simplifies the whole thing and doesn't make it feel like a big deal. And I was like, what? How is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really is possible. I mean, launching essentially is a sales system. It's a system. It's a way to get your message through to the right audience so that you meet your revenue goals, but you're still making a deeper impact. So it is a little bit of a misunderstood area. It can be, some people think it's something that people with teams of 20 and, people like that would do. There's a lot of courses, as you would know, that are launched and maybe it didn't go to the expectations that the entrepreneur had at the time. And they think, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But you can simplify and you can streamline, definitely.
And it's totally worth doing. And you know what? Launches will differ based on when you're running them, how old or new your material is, how visible you are online and have been for a while. But there's so many different factors that can influence a launch outcome that honestly, I think getting out of our own way in terms of the mindset and the internal stuff we tell ourselves, that's the biggest hurdle, right? And so having somebody on board who is a pro with how to manage a launch successfully takes that sort of emotional fear and the worry out of it, because it's like you've got this extra person on here going, no, you can freak out internally if you want to. I'm just going to follow the steps and actually get it going for you. So it takes a lot of pressure off.
Exactly. It does take pressure off. I mean, initially entrepreneurs, we all start, on our own doing all the things in air quotes. We set up everything, we write our copy, we design our socials, and then we find that the first stage really of, other than systemizing, getting help, is the implementers, the tech VA, the social media VA, the people who are going to help you with the doing. So the level of somebody who integrates, like a project manager, a launch manager, an online business manager, is the next level that's going to help free your mind up from all the operational coordination, the deadlines, aligning all of those to-dos with your strategy and your goals. You can give that to someone else while you focus on serving your audience at a deeper level and doing what you actually started the business for in the first place.
Yeah. And all that tech struggling, that whole, is this link broken? Does this connect to the sign up? Are they going to see the checkout? Do you guys include how-tos and take care of that part as well, so no one has to worry about it?
We can. I mean, certainly in the whole Done For You service launch, we have a tech implementation focused portion of our delivery, but there is always going to be a tech portion to every launch. As long as there's a tech VA taking control and ownership of that, there is oversight for sure. In every launch, there will be a tech challenge. But if you're prepared to overcome that in a really flexible, proactive way and not be worried about it or too stressed about it, you'll find that quite often the impact is minimized.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's how you see it and how you overcome it, really. That's the important thing. I love that you help people create launches that are focused on being, nice and smooth and successful instead of that sort of heavy and big project overwhelming sort of factor. How did you get into helping people specifically with their launches? How did that come about?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, I've always loved personal growth, and I've done a lot of courses and workshops and what have you myself, but I've just always been excited about human potential and possibility. And because of that, I've just naturally drawn myself to coaches and online experts when I first started working online. And the more coaches I work with, the more I realize that there is quite a stress around launching, that it's a bit of a struggle sometimes. And it definitely doesn't have to be. And I've got prior project management and business manager experience. So that helped me put all of that together. So when I rebranded my business to Virtual Systems Sanctuary last year, I decided that that's really my sandbox. That's really where I can make a difference. And that's why I decided to become a certified launch manager, make sure I had the best foundations that I could offer, as well as the current trends.
There's certainly a gap in the market for this sort of thing, because I have been working online for more than 10 years now. And until we met, I never even considered that I could hire someone specifically to help me make a launch smooth and easy and help me implement it or give me a blueprint to follow, so I didn't have to just try and, we all start off the very first launch trying to copy someone else's launch that we've seen before, not mimic it, but go, okay, this step and that step and this step, and this is how I ended up buying. And it's just, it's horrible. You go down this horrible rabbit hole and you don't know what you're talking about or doing. And I was really impressed to find out that you actually have this service available, because you're the first person I've met that's ever had anything where I can have somebody on board to help me out with a launch. So amazing.
Everything you said is absolutely true. I think we all did that at the start. How does this work? What about all the things, all the pieces? But it can be streamlined and simplified, as I mentioned. I love that I'm able to offer people a blueprint that's scalable with their business. They can take a plan, just like any other plan in their business, and certainly refresh it every time, but almost like a rinse and repeat cycle. They'll be able to use that for every single launch, and it just creates some consistency. The other aspect about launching is, once you have a strategy, you might refresh that strategy, but the best way to do it is to know what metrics you're tracking every time. You're making data-driven decisions then. So we set people up with all of those things right from the start. So here's, the amount of time we're going to take to deliver the launch. Here's what we're going to track during launch week. Here's what we're going to measure. And here's where we can be a little flexible if we need to be dynamic with the response that you're getting. And then from there, we can up level to the next launch. And the perspective that, okay, my course is successful or my launch wasn't successful, is a really interesting one, because we at Virtual Systems Sanctuary view launching as a journey. And there are phases, and it's a skill set, and it's a system to tweak and hone. And from beta to 6 or 7 figure course launch is a journey, and there are stages to that. So everything you learn is going to help you moving forward.
Yeah. I really like the way you talked about it being data driven because none of us automatically go there. We go to, if my launch didn't succeed, I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a loser. Nobody likes
Mm.
me. And often
It's
not the case,
it,
right?
exactly, yeah. It's a long game. It is actually a long game. It's a way to develop consistent, repeatable revenue. And if you treat it as a system, it's okay because you're playing the long game. And next time I'll do this, or that will be better, or we'll tweak this, or we've got some great feedback here to change. Then it's a different perspective. It helps you with the resilience of putting yourself out there, which sometimes can be a little scary for people.
Yeah. But it's good to know that, if somebody out there listening to this episode is thinking, oh, yeah, that's me, I freak out at launches, I think it's helpful for them to know that they're not the only one feeling that way. At some point, all of us have had a thought similar to that, or a bit of an imposter syndrome has popped up, or we compare ourselves to others. And I think having someone on board who knows what they're doing with a launch can take that sort of emotional feeling away and just go, no, we're running a process. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
So mindset's a big hurdle that people have to overcome, I think, when it comes to launching. But what about other typical hurdles? Have you come across any that seem to pop up over and over again when people are trying to set up and run a launch for their course?
Yes, it's interesting. One of the big hurdles I would say is that mindset piece, which we've covered.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other would be understanding where your paying customers are coming from.
Oh.
So when it comes to tracking metrics and all of those things for launches, the thing that we quite often see, like we were talking about earlier, people are looking, you'll Google this, you'll podcast that, you'll freebie download that. And somehow you need to come up with a goal for yourself. What are you going to do with your offer? And how many sales do you want to make? How many people do you want to close into your program? And you really need to understand where that's going to come from. And it's going to come from your email list. It's not going to come from social media. All of the predictable sales goals from your launch will come from your engaged, active list on your email subscribers. So if you haven't emailed your list for a month, it's quite possible they're not as engaged as you need. But there is also a process that we call a launch runway, where you can increase your engaged subscribers before you actually launch the program that you think that market will be interested in.
Oh, so there's a process in order to get ready for the process of the launch. That's very clever.
Yes. Yeah. So just like you can fly and you've got a runway for the plane. So the launch runway is where you get ready to have the numbers and the interest and the impact that you want to make once the launch happens.
Oh, I love that way of thinking about it. And it really takes that whole winging it factor away, doesn't it? So it's not last minute anymore. It's not spur of the moment. And I just hope this works out. It's a real nice sort of calm and methodical approach to it, which is, very nice.
Exactly. And something that you would love, Marissa, of course, is automation with email. Automation.
Yes. Oh my gosh. If you can systemize or automate it, I am there.
Me too. I'm done. It's our love language, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so what do you think are the 3 most important factors then that we should include in a launch so that it can be less stressful and more successful?
I would definitely say time. Time is number one. Set yourself up for success, set your team up for success, and allow enough time to either do just the launch or the launch runway with the launch. And if you were to think about how long do I allocate to actually deliver a launch plan, the answer is actually 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
For a successful, launch where you've set yourself up for success, 6 to 8 weeks. Now, if you want to add the launch runway, it could be up to 16 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty of that is if you get your yearly calendar and and program this in as your yearly revenue, as part of your yearly revenue goals, then you'll know exactly when the cash flow comes, how you're going to deliver it, and what system you're going to use for that. But the time to set yourself up for success is the most important factor, I would say. And the second one would be treat your launch like a project. It is a project. It has deliverables, deadlines. It has multiple people doing a lot of things. There's all these interdependencies. They all connect to each other, and they all have this deadline that in a project you'd call it go live. So this is launch week, and then you treat that launch week as a go live week. You schedule daily check-ins, have a look at all the metrics and measure and see what will work. See what's really catching on, or do you need to show up for an extra live? Do you need to do a bump up sales cart before cart closes? Little elements like that you can tweak during launch week if you're just really present with that process. So I'd say that'd be the top two. And the other one, certainly right across an entrepreneur's business, but in launching, self-care is really important.
Yes.
Yeah. White space.
It goes out the window, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And launch burnout. How often have you heard of launch burnout? Well, we could probably just do an episode on avoiding launch burnout. But just to keep it simple, just remember, don't wear all the hats, have the right person in the right role as you would for any other project. And keep in mind that your number one priority as a person with the offer is serving your audience, serving at a deeper level, getting your messaging across, and then answering their objections. And everything else can be somebody else's job to implement or integrate so that you can focus on the number one thing. So that would be one element. The other element is just personal life. Don't add major social events. Ask somebody else to pick the kids up. Meals pre-prepared. Make sure you keep your walking, your hydration, meditation, all of those things that you have as a regular well-being program. Make sure you have time for those, and celebrate the wins.
Yes,
that's all part of the self-care and the rewards. It's a bit of a big deal launch week, but if you create a bit more white space and look after yourself, the results will be there.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one of the reasons I've got a couple of entrepreneurial friends who will do a launch for a course that has, say, a live round coming up, but they won't actually start the live round until 2 weeks after the launch ends. And they send out, their new students and course buyers, they send them like an orientation packet. So they've got something to do. But I never realized until I sat down with one of them and said, why do you wait 2 weeks? Why don't you use the momentum from the launch? And she said to me, because I need to recover. Often, if I'm going to get a cold, it's right after cart close. Or if something's going to go wrong in my life, it's right at the end of the launch. Or even if it doesn't, I just need that recharge time so I can deliver and actually show up and deliver on the promise I gave people who purchased. And that was a really good point. I never really considered that before.
Definitely. Yeah. Self-care is such a huge priority, and also consideration for your offer. So as your friend mentioned about starting your program within a certain period of time, if your offer includes, for example, a one-on-one coaching session, you really need to think about the amount of time and space you have as opposed to your launch goals. How many people are you going to offer that one-on-one coaching session with? And how much time are you going to allocate for that? Simple logistics like that can have you really stretched unless you've really thought about all of those pieces well in advance.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. All right. So for people that are listening who are thinking, okay, I could do with some help with my launches. I know this comes up all the time. So we're going to cover it today. I hope you don't mind, but budget's a big one, right? And I think what I love about your service is you've got different levels of support that you provide people. You can do a blueprint that they can run in-house, or you can do support services or a full implementation. I love that. Is that why you came up with the different sort of tiers of support so that people could have budget-friendly options if it's maybe their first or one of their first few launches and they're not quite sure what to do?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a DIY, done with you, and then done for you for that exact reason. So DIY is like a VIP day where we set out strategy, and then we do some launch planning, and then we actually design the launch plan for your business, for your team, and then onboard that with your team, for your team and you to go and implement. So that's just a practical solution for somebody who is, starting. Maybe they've done a beta launch, they've got a proof of concept, and they think, right, I really want to dig into this now, and how am I going to commit to a launch? What are my next steps? So that's for that sort of client. Done with you is where I, as a launch manager, pop into your business and parachute in for that 6 to 8 weeks. And we do the blueprint, we do the planning, and then I implement the plan for you as a project manager. And then we do the launch debrief at the end with all the metrics, so we know what's going to happen next time as well. And then Done with you is a full service with my team. And so that means all the tech implementation, the social media, the emails, all of those things are all set in place, as well as, people sitting there. If you're doing a live webinar, somebody else is hosting that for you as an admin. All of those little bits and pieces are taken care of.
I love that. So you've got everybody covered no matter what stage they're at, so that they can have support and structure for their launch and not have to worry about all those little hiccups that we tend to stress out about. Yeah, that's really cool.
Correct. And also, Marissa, in terms of budget, quite often people will be thinking, but I can do it. I can save the money. I can, but the results at the end will be directly impacted by your focus and energy on things that you're not meant to be doing, to be honest. And I believe in what we do so much that I actually guarantee that the investment that people make in our VIP Day service, if they don't make that much in revenue in their launch, I'll refund them. It is such a simple process. If you take that blueprint and implement it, if you don't at least make, the sales from what you've invested with me, then we'll give it back.
And I think too, I liken this to when you sell your house and you get somebody in to stage it first, right? You think, I've got to pay some money to get someone to come in and stage the home. Is it worth that investment? But then the home sells for so much more money because of the staging that you actually make the money that you invest back from the sale of your house. This feels very similar to that. When you've got somebody who knows launches, who knows what works well, who knows how to keep it smooth, not only are you saving hours and hours of your own work when you would normally be able to go and do paid work for that time and get paid for what you're doing, like you're saving the money there, but also it's almost like you've got the structure of how you're making the money built into the launch, so you can start forecasting what you're going to make instead of just hoping you're going to make sales, and actually know what to expect with your launch based on your list size and your engagement and all of those other factors that come into it. So I think it's almost like it's covered in the cost of doing the launch and makes it worth it, if you know what I mean.
That's a great analogy. It is a perfect analogy, Marissa, for exactly what it is. The investment up front sets you up for success, for a bigger return.
Yeah. That's powerful stuff. I love it.
I'm glad. I hope it helps.
Yes.
I hope it helps.
Definitely. Kim, it's been amazing talking to you today. I just love the way you opened my eyes to the possibilities when it comes to launches and being able to approach it from a systemized or methodical and a planned out way of doing it. It's a topic that I never thought to add a process to, which is so weird because everything in my life I add a process to. And I know a lot of our listeners would be the same. They're scared of launches because they feel like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to fit it in. This is going to help them a lot. So thank you. And for people who are going to launch soon or are thinking about, okay, I'm going to give it a go, I think it's worth it, how do they find out more from you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. So the website, virtualsystemsanctuary.com.au. Facebook, Virtual System Sanctuary, and then on Instagram, it's VS_Sanctuary. It's me. You can find me in all those places.
Lovely.
And for your listeners, we also have a little questionnaire if they wanted to find out where they're at on the 4 stages of the journey to 6-figure launch mastery. So I'll give you the link to that, and find out a little bit more about where they're at, and also some actionable tips that they can use straight away without the hustle.
Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And now I'm going to go plan my next launch because I'm like all motivated to do it now.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting to you again.
Oh, I've loved having you on, and I can't wait to chat more in the future and compare launch notes and just generally get together and chat all things launches.
Sounds good. I'm up for it.
Lovely. Thanks, okay, everybody. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. You can find out more about Kim and her team and her services in the show notes links. Let us know if you have a launch coming up. You can find me on Instagram at Marissa Roberts Official, and I will see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Simpler Business Podcast. If you did, please subscribe, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you, just the way we like it. If you're ready to simplify and scale your business, you can get started with my free audio class at marissaroberts.com. See you next time.